Welcome to Fearless, Inspired, and Free. I am your host, Dana Wright, and I am returning this week with guest Connie B. Tate for a part two. And the last episode, I enjoyed it so much. I talked about it quite a bit with my family about how excited I was to get this one up. And so we got that one up, and now we're going for part two. So we were speaking with Connie. She is the creator of Kwik Fingers comb. But what we found out in the last time we spoke is that she's so much more, and that her story is one of resilience and determination, listening to one's inner voice, not letting anyone deter you, betting on yourself, all of these things. And Connie has certainly done that in her life. She started off at a young age, living. Her parents had split and she lived in two different places, Southside, Cabrini Green. She talked about how she knew early that she wanted to create this great life for herself. And what we talked about is she went for it every single time. She is a writer. And she loves music. And so her first love was music. She went for that. She had to overcome disappointment in that area, but she never gave up. She never gave up. She went back to school. She got her degrees. She is now, and so she is the first African-American woman to work as a director in the state for the program that she's over. And she has just done tremendous things. And we had gotten so into her life story that we didn't leave any time to talk about her Kwik Fingers comb. So we thought, let's do a part two and let's talk about, what that looks like, bringing something to market. She had an idea, and even then she was very, very forward leaning, and she went and she reached out to the best of the best in the business and said, hey, I have an idea, and here we are. So we have the end of our chat last time. She gave us a quick preview of the comb and what it can do, but let's pick up there. So Connie, thank you again for coming for part two. And let's get into what does that look like? Because you are a busy mom, wife. You run a major program in the state, yet you have time to create this comb that is amazing, by the way. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you make time, and what was your process like?
So, Dana, thanks for having me back. I appreciate your platform. It's such an awesome platform. And so, time, there's never enough time in a day, to be perfectly honest, right? You're never going to have enough time to do everything that you need to do, especially if you are entering or starting a business as a solopreneur. It's pretty much just you. And so you have to find time, and you have to be intentional with your time. So you have to carve out time. You have to carve out that time, and you're going to say, you know what, I have 8 hours that I need to give all of my time and my attention to, you know, whatever your 9 to 5 is. And then I'm going to get home and I'm going to take a 30-minute nap, or I'm going to take a 1 hour nap, and I'm going to recharge and research. And then I'm going to get up and I'm going to give 3 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour or 8 hours to my business. But you have to be very diligent and very disciplined in doing that. So it's really, a process of self-mastery when it comes to your time allocation and just being very intentional with it.
Well, I think that's probably true. Some say easier said than done, but you've done it. So you can
Well,
say,
it's not easy. That's the thing about it. If it were easy, everyone would do it. It's not easy. It's a process of discipline. And being disciplined is not an easy journey. It takes time and it takes intention, and you have to know your why and what your bigger picture is. And so, you have to find your own drivers. No one can tell you what your drivers are. But once you identify those drivers, you need to allow them to lead you into making the best decisions possible to achieve your ultimate outcome.
So that brings me to a really good point, or a point. So what were your drivers? I mean, you talked about going into your lab, the room that you have designated to kind of work on your ideas, whether that be your writing or, this project. What were your drivers and how did you come up with your concept? I know you said that you enjoy doing hair. You wanted to solve something. You wanted to solve something for women who were doing their hair themselves. But what were your drivers outside of just, I want to create something for women or men? Because quite frankly, you showed us how men are using it for their beards. So what were your drivers?
So for me, it was I'm a person who I need to have projects, right? I need to be working on something. I need to be doing something. I need to be building something. And I'm a problem solver. I'm a natural born problem solver. And so I saw a problem and I felt that I had the answer. And I needed to prove to myself that I did have the answer and that it was the utility of it was functional, right? That it worked. And once that happened, it was just kind of full throttle for me. And then I realized, this is an opportunity here for me to create generational wealth for myself and for my family, and it's my brainchild and it's actually a really good product, right? And I could not believe that someone hadn't come out with it beforehand because the utility of it is just so awesome and so amazing. And so I happen to be the inventor of it, but if I were not, I would still purchase it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, so I'm no artist. And so when you say you go in the lab, you're working on this. And so I'm, pick up this and I just see all the innovation in this, small, you can't see it on mine, but this small piece, there's so much here. Did you draw this? Did you just say, hey, I need to protect my finger, but I also need to be able to part, but I also need to be able to hold here. I mean, the idea is just kind of, did you do a whiteboard of all the problems you wanted to solve? Did you start with, I need to draw something, because it really is genius. It really is. And so what is that creative process? Because you said you're a problem solver and you knew you had the answer, but how do you come up with this final piece?
So initially, and it's so funny because yes, to answer your questions, yes, everything that you just said kind of went into the mix, right? So I knew when I was in there styling my hair, I said, okay, well, what are our natural processes for styling hair? What feels the most comfortable? I had gone and I had researched back maybe I went 10 years back to the hairstyling process that a lot of individuals use to help them get that bone straight look. And some people call it flat ironing, some people call it silking out, some people call it the chase method. And so I went and I just researched how long people had been looking for a way to do this and looking for the most effective way to do it. And so when I saw that way and I had applied it, it was very uncomfortable for me. It was unnatural for me. I found that I was dropping the comb, I was burning myself, all of these different things. So I listed out the problems that I noticed were occurring in that process. So one was it being awkward. Two, burning yourself. Three, switching out multiple combs. Four, burning your comb. So there was a number of different things. So I thought, okay, if I could make a comb that could just go on my hand, then I wouldn't have to pick up a comb, right? Because it's already there.
Right.
So I could just go in as if I normally would, right? I would hook the comb, I could grasp the hair, anchor it down, and then just glide it through. Wow, that would be dope. How do I get there? And so that process began, and I started thinking of ways that I could get it done. Can I make a ring? Do I make whatever? So I went through this process of ideation in my mind first. Just kind of walking through it and sitting with it and looking and examining that process and then going back and I had a pad and I would draw out. So I would write down the problems, and I would write down the solutions, or what I thought would be the solutions. And then I started kind of crafting it out from there. And, it was so thrilling to do, right? So my adrenaline was rushing, and I was like, yes, yes, this is going to work. This is going to work. And, to be honest, I came up with this idea and I thought, okay, this is great. I am here. This is what I want. This is what I need. I need to find an engineer. I got with a couple of people, I got an illustrator. We can talk about some of those processes too, but I got with a couple of people. What I didn't know was that I had drawn something that was I had created something in my mind that was extremely complicated to bring to life. I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is small, compact, innovative, so on and so forth. But I didn't know that it was going to be the monster that it was to create. People look at that comb and they don't realize everything that has gone into that. It's not just your typical comb. The functionality of it is very complex, and it took a lot of work to bring to life.
No, I can't, I can imagine. And, people will say, you've talked about the thought process, the mapping process, the visual process, the thinking it through, walking it through in your head and until you figured it would work, and then having to reach out to, engineers and illustrators and people who can bring the concept that you have from a scratch pad to an actual drawing and workable, viable piece, because I'm sure you have to think about, different finger sizes and things like that.
Yeah.
And all, just the shape and the fact there's two different types of combs, and, the fact that you can part with, the pick that's in the comb. And people, tend to say, now that this is out to market, and like you said, people say, okay, this looks like, it was easy, when you're not thinking about it. And people say, oh, people are overnight success.
Yes, no,
Tell me
this was
about
actually
that.
2 years, 2.5 years in the making. And I mean, in my opinion, that was still very accelerated. So, I mean, even though that's seemingly, and it's all relative, right? But for some people, they would say, that's overnight, and it's not overnight. When you are, I mean, giving it all you have every single day. I mean, no days off, right? So there's no days off, and very limited sleep. And but that saying, when you are doing something you love, you're not working, it's very true. It's not work, right? It's dedication. It's dedication, and it's just time. And so um I started off with that process. And when I developed my own prototype. A lot of times people think that you have to have, oh, I have to have the perfect material, and I have to have this, and I have to have that. No, you can, I chopped up a glove. I used a rubber band. I used some glue. I just used these different things. I went online. I searched, okay, how do I make, glue stick to rubber, or rubber, rubber stick to plastic, or whatever, in order to get that initial prototype created. And I still have my initial prototype. And my initial prototype, which looks a complete fool, but it was functional. I actually used that prototype, and I sent that out in video to show the functionality of it to that top exec at one of the largest hair care companies, and they got it. Because people just need to be able to see that vision. If you can bring it to life, you could take a piece of plastic. If you're trying to create jewelry, take your piece of plastic and create loops, and whatever you need to do. It's about being able to create the visual. And once you create the visual, then you can get with the other people, the experts, find the experts that you need to assist you in, bringing it to fruition, right? So making it plain, and talking about, what additives I need, what's going to be, getting those additive specialists, or there's engineers, or whatever the case. And so that was a whole process. And so if I could just start right here, I had to create a system. Oh, and I would like to say a syllabus, right? Because this was an educational process. This was a learning process. So I needed to create a syllabus of the process it would take me to get to where from point A to point B. Now, you don't necessarily know everything that you're going to need when you first start, right? 'Cause how could you? You've never done it before. All you can do is start where you think you should start, right? And
Mm.
once you start, you will be led in the right direction by way of what is needed, right? What is warranted. You will find out what you need to do next, right?
Mhm.
And I'm a person, my life is built on prayer. My business is built on prayer. So I pray about these things, oh my goodness, what is my next step? And I promise you, this has been divine guidance the entire time because I don't know anyone. I've never met anyone who has innovated to that extent. So I didn't have a point of reference that I could pick up the phone and call someone and say, hey, okay, I'm here. So now what do I do next? What is my next move? And so you have to get silent and you have to research and you have to um, exercise critical thinking. What would I do next? What might be my next process?
A bunch
So if we
like
could,
the what ifs. You have to do a lot of what ifs
you
and
do, you do.
mm, okay.
So when I started off, I knew that first I would need protections, right? Certain protections that I would need to have in place. So I needed to have, if I'm going to be talking to people about my invention and my idea, I need to get some NDAs in place. You have to get comfortable talking about NDAs, right? And for individuals who may not know, those are non-disclosure agreements. You need to create that NDA. You need to have those mapped out and you need to pass them out and you have to get comfortable with telling people, I want to talk to you about an idea. I need you to sign an NDA first.
Mhm.
And that has to
Well, and
be
we shouldn't be and no one should be shy about that, right? Because if you're
absolutely
wanting to be in this space and you want to be a creator, you have to protect yourself because although we want to think the best of everyone, sometimes, it just doesn't go that way. So you have an idea that you want to protect, you want to bring to market. And so the first thing that you need to do is put in place those protections so that you can talk about it and get in the right rooms and get in the right spaces to get it to the next step.
absolutely. So you want to get those NDAs in place, and listen, pass them out just like you would pass out a business card, pass out your number, and still you want to exercise discretion. Everyone doesn't need to know what you're doing, but on a need to know basis, when they do, then you need to be ready to present an NDA. And a mutual NDA is fine. A basic mutual NDA that's pretty much stating, I'm going to share information with you, you're going to share information with me, and we're not going to disclose the information that we're discussing about our businesses.
That's very, very important. So I hope everyone listening who have an idea, who want to birth something, really take a listen because you're actually giving some great, great advice on, first steps in doing that. So after you establish those NDAs and you begin to talk to people, because we talked about last time, you are open. When you're doing something, you're going to see it through. You said I see things through, when I'm supposed to do something or I know I got to do something, I finish it, so you have this idea. You are creating your boards and your drawings. You are taking it seriously. You are taking counsel from above through prayer. And I always say, and we talked about this in the last episode, that when you're open, the universe responds and doors open. And you talked about how you're going through this process and you didn't know what you're doing, but lo and behold, through prayer and just being quiet and being purposeful and driven, the answers were coming to you, and you
I
are just
promise. I
inching ahead.
promise. It's miraculous. But I will say, before we move into that direction, another thing I would urge people to do is to apply for a provisional patent. So, it's $75 or 60, it could have been $60 or $65. It may be $75 right now, but apply for that provisional patent with the US Trade Office. So you want to US Patent and Trade Office. You want it to contact them and reach out to them and find out what it is that you need in order to apply. And that's going to depend on what your area of concentration is, whatever your intellectual property is that you're trying to protect. You need to contact them, and they actually have awesome agents that kind of help you walk through that process. It's a very simple process to do, but very necessary, because what that's going to give you is the initial filing date. So you want to try to get the earliest filing date possible to prove that this was my idea. And I can prove this was my idea because I filed this on XYZ date.
Fantastic.
So that
Awesome.
provisional patent is going to be good for a year. So it gives you a year to do what you need to do to test the market, to test your product, and to actually see if there's opportunity there. And then, when that 12-month period is up, you can decide whether you want to apply for what's called a non-provisional patent. And that's when the dollars spill out. Because you're definitely going to need some expert help and assistance in getting your patent drawn up and written and submitted.
Okay, so when you're going for the provisional patent and you have the idea, that's something you can kind of do yourself as long as you're diligent and follow through and make your calls and you pay the fee. And then you have 12 months to kind of test and do what you need to do. And when you are pretty sure, yeah, this is going to be something, then you go and you get a non-provisional patent.
Yes.
And that's when you would suggest you bring in the lawyers and things like that and make sure those things go well. And that's, and then this is when you really are going to put or invest into your idea.
Yeah. Well, you'll be investing the whole time, but patents, it costs a lot to patent a project if you don't know how to do it yourself. I mean, we're talking about, you need to have a well-written provisional patent, right? Which is the first step, right? You want to write it out. You want to cover all aspects of it. You want to cover aspects of improvement. So if you have an idea and you think, okay, how would I be able to prove upon this? Or how would someone be able to approve upon this? You want to put all of that in the specifications or the abstract for your non-provisional, right? You want to try to say, well, if it's curved, if it's, whether it's straight or curved or whatever the case, you want to have it written so that it can cover all your bases or all bases for improvements moving forward, right? So
very specific.
Yeah, you want to be very intentional about that abstract and the specifications that you write in it. And then when you move forward to the non-provisional process, that's when those specifications are going to be, written out. They're going to be bulleted. They have to be presented in a certain way. You have to have illustrations that are drawn in a certain capacity, that's submitted in a certain way. All of these things are going to come into effect, and you may not know what you need. So you're going to have to get an expert to help you with that. And it can be pricey. So just be prepared for that. But, once you have that idea, and that's why I tell people, these should be things that you are planning for, right? And this is when discipline comes in. This is when sacrifice comes in. You may not be able to go out and get those $200 pair of shoes every, 2 weeks or every, month, or get that, $1,500, $2,500 bag, that you want. And everybody's financial situation is different, but I believe in reallocating funds. So if there's an area in which I feel I can do without, I'm going to sacrifice that, and I'm going to reallocate my money to something else, whether it's a savings account, because I know I'm going to need an attorney in 12 months. You'd be surprised what you can save in 12 months. And I'll just let you in on a little secret. I don't watch a lot of television. Yet I had cable in every bedroom of my home and the front room. Mm-hmm. And I realized over a 10-year period, I had paid $30,000 for cable.
Wow. Is that what we're paying for cable? Oh, see how when you dig, see? And that's
so what I did, I cut cable. I cut cable and I saved those funds, and I reallocated those funds That's $250 a month. Do you know what you can do with $250 a month when you're building out your brainchild? I mean, we're talking about you can pay for your trademarks, you can pay for logos, you can, you can get your business certified, right? You want to think of certain things that you're doing, get your business certified. This is when the foundational aspect of it, because you're going to start off, you need to build a foundation. And your foundation consists of your protections, which are, branding, right? A lot of people, and it really depends on the trajectory that you're moving in, but I can tell you what I did. So first I did my NDAs, then I did my provisional patents. I had my name. I knew what I wanted my name to be. I had my name. I secured my LLC. You do that with your state department. I went in, I designed my own logos. I had my logos done. I went in, I applied for my trademarks. So, whether it's a word mark or whether it's an image, whatever it is, I applied for those things so that all of that was ready to go when I needed to put it into place.
All right, so that brings me to my next question, because when you talked about provisional patents and non-provisional patents, I had a question about trademarking. And so it sounds like trademarking comes before the patent because you want to, save your name, or
No,
okay,
not necessarily. No, you're gonna get that NDA and you're gonna get that provisional patent. Those are the two primary protections that you need to do first, right? Because they're not asking you really the name of. They don't care about the name. What is going to be known to the public as. They want to know the name of, like, what does it do? 3-in-1 hairstyling finger comb. They didn't care that it was Kwik Fingers. I could have called it whatever I wanted to call it afterwards. They just want to know what it is and what it does.
got it.
Okay. So if you have, a double head mop, they don't care that you call it Twisted Sister. They just want to know that you have created a double head mop.
Got it.
For example.
Okay. And now how was your trademark process different from your patent process for anyone considering a product or creating a logo or starting a business? What's the difference?
Yeah. So your patents, there are multiple types of patents that you can get. It may be a utility patent that's protecting the usage, how the product is used, what you use it for. You could also apply for a design patent that protects the design of the patent, how that patent or how that product looks. In some cases, you may need both. So you'll have to apply for a design as well as a utility patent because you want to protect the design and the utility of it. The trademark comes in when you are starting to build out your brand and what that's actually called. So there's only one, Nike. There's only one Adidas. There's only one Coca-Cola. So when you start with the trademarks, you are protecting the brand.
Got it. All right. So for everyone listening, these are some really good nuggets. And this is someone who's been through the process. Bottom line is Connie's done the work. Connie understands what she's talking about. Now you have to do the work. People need to research. People need to decide, utility versus design, protecting our brand, all of those things. So you had, as usual, multiple balls in the air, juggling things. And, because this isn't just a solo project. You are still living life. You are still working. So you have talked about how you had an idea. You had to be disciplined. You had to stay the course. You had to research. You had to protect yourself and your idea. Then you had to move forward and talk to people. Again, protecting yourself and your idea. Then you had to do work securing the name, securing the logo, protecting the name and the logo after that piece. So you've done all of these things now, and you are kind of off to the races as far as getting your idea in the hands of people and, kind of running that circle. Now, what does that look like? Because now you know what your comb is going to look like. And you said you've gotten some engineers and some illustrators, what does that look like? Because there's people think, oh, she created this and they're all by herself. And yeah, your idea was born with you, but it took a team to
Yeah.
kind of get this to market, right?
Yes, it did. You know, so I reached out to some design companies, right? And so, again, that could be pretty pricey depending on, what your financial situation is. But I reached out to some product design companies, and for me, they were more pricey than what I felt I wanted to invest, right? And I'm a person, I feel, I like nice things, but I always look for a deal, right? So I'm like,
Mhm.
I know that I can get this at a better price. I'm always that person. I'm not haggling the people because your price is your price, and I
Right.
have to respect what your price is, and I do. But at that particular stage in my life, I had to kind of say, is this something that I can find a better avenue or a more efficient avenue for me? And I was able to do that. So again, that takes research. There are different platforms that you can find. One is called Upwork, where they have a bunch of freelance artists and professionals who are top-notch professionals, and they have worked with some of the biggest brands around, and they have some of the most qualifying skill sets and experience. And you can get that for a fraction of the cost that you would pay to go to some of these larger corporations because they don't have the same overhead, right? So this is just freelance work that they're doing on the side. And so I say, that's one starting point. Go look at a platform like Upwork, and reach out to people. You want to look at their gigs and see, have they ever designed anything that's even remotely similar to what you may need, and reach out to them. And even when you do that, your contracts are going to be important. Never forget that you need to have, these are people you're going to be talking to. I chose to deal with people who worked in the US. So you'll have an option to work with people overseas. Um, and sometimes they're even more reasonable. But then that's where, you have to kind of assess whether the benefit is worth the risk of working with people overseas who are not up under US law, right?
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
governed by US law. So I wanted to work with people who were governed by US law. And so that's what I did.
Another good piece of information that people need to kind of think about when they're researching and making decisions.
Mhm.
International
So
law and local, national law are two totally different things. So
yes, absolutely. So again, presenting that NDA, creating contracts. I always suggest, when you are creating contracts and things of that nature, you want to reach out and build you a team of legal experts. It could be one person who can kind of advise you a little bit. But some people have a lot of experience in contractual work. I did. I've had experience in contracts since I was 15 years of age. But then, words matter. Capitalization matters. All these different
mhm.
things matter when you're dealing with contracts. So you may need to, say, listen, I'm going to be doing a bunch of work. It's going to require me to, reach out to multiple people in multiple ways. Can we do, whether you're doing a flat rate, a one-time fee to look over, 5 different documents I'm going to be submitting. You have to exercise some negotiation skills, but you got to know what you need first. There is there are a couple of platforms. I think one is Law Depot and another is uh, Rocket Law. I think it's called Rocket Law, but they have templates that you can get. And I mean, it's little or nothing, they have maybe monthly memberships of $10 or something like that. And again, that's where that reallocation of money comes in because, I need this right now. I don't need cable. I don't need to sit up and watch, all of everyone else working and doing their thing. I'm trying to do my thing.
Right.
And so, it may be okay for you to get a subscription for a short period of time until you can get what you need. And then you can take those documents, you can kind of customize them to your business and to your needs, and then maybe have someone to look over it. So that may be even another expense that you shave off, because you actually create the document yourself and you send it over to an expert to review, and you have them to review it and to, send it back and say, you know, it's good to go.
Wow. So, you have given us so many really good nuggets, even down to how you reallocated funds and really prioritize what you wanted to do. And I think that people need to listen to that and figure out, is this really the path you want to take? Because you really need to buckle down if you're going to do this. This is not, for one, for the faint of heart. Two, if you are wanting to not have priorities with money, because if you're starting out, depending on where you are financially, this is going to be a heavy lift financially. But if you have the passion, the desire to get your product up, these are some of the things you have to do. And you've gone through that process, and then you brought your product to market, after you had assembled a team and, got your final, what it looks like, and your packaging and all of those things that you worked really hard to do. And it sounds like you really had a lot of say so and didn't really delegate some things that some people might have done. You kind of said, I want my fingerprint on every part of this process. This is authentic. This is going to be my authentic project. Tell me what it feels like, Connie, when you put your product to market, when it goes on a platform like Amazon. How does that feel? How did you, I don't know, I mean, the plain simple, how did you
It's
feel?
surreal. It's surreal. Well, you know, it's still surreal. And I say that because sometimes you're so busy going through the process. For me, it was more that I actually was able to execute. I'm an executor. I like to execute, right? And I don't get caught up in the pageantry of it. So some people are like, "Oh, I have to have, this big launch party, and I need to do this, and it has to be fabulous, and it has to be this." For me, it was more, it has to work, right? Um, it has to be functional, and I need to be able to find the avenue to get it out to the people. So even before releasing it, the process of distribution, you have to decide, do I want to try to license this to another company and allow them to utilize their distribution channels and their infrastructure that they already have established? And I get a percentage of that, right? Whether it's 3%, 5%, 10%, whatever, I get this royalty. Do I want to just do that because I then don't have to do the work, right? I don't have to do it. My hands are pretty much off after I license this out. Or do I want to bring it to market? And if you're bringing it to market yourself, that means now you have to create the distribution channels. You have to build the relationships. You have to find the vendors. You have to, you see what I'm saying? So it's you're taking on another level of responsibility that you're starting all over and doing. So, I decided, I explored, and I believe research everything to see what's the best option for you. And I researched the licensing process. And I said, you know what, this is pretty cool, but I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone to knock on my door or to validate what I believe is a really good, useful product. So I'll reach out to a couple of people. If I don't get the interest that I need within the time period that I want, um, I'm going to move forward. And so I started researching, how do you bring a product to market? What's the steps? And so I was so involved and totally engulfed in the process that I didn't even take the time to plan the party for it, right? I've never even had a lunch party to date, right? I
Wow.
just did the steps. I'm a person, I research and I execute. I research and I execute. And so I've just been executing the whole time. So I've never even had time to pop the champagne bottles and drop the confetti because I've
Wow.
just been working.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was thinking, at least you were like, okay, I get a sip of champagne or something. This is, my hard work. And you are still actually working hard, even though it's out to market, we can
Yeah.
go on and we can purchase it. You still are just like in execution mode, making sure you see it all the way through, making sure it's a good launch, I'm sure. And, I think about you and your product in our first chat, and it was around the time you were talking about you were going to school and how much you were enjoying that and how much you were enjoying motivating the people around you and making sure they knew they could get through it too, and you all were going to get through it together. And you said, I like to be of service, I like to serve others. And I think sometimes people don't even look at things like this, but someone might say that, oh wow, she bought a comb to market, something. But I look at it differently. I look at it as you wanted to be of service to someone based on things that you've experienced. And because your heart was of service, it came to fruition. So, one thing I want to remind people is, don't just think, oh, I want to do something so I can be, make money. Money is not always the motivation. It's how can I be of service? How can I make someone's life easier? And you did it. You did it. Your whole story, the thread, everything is very consistent in your story. You don't waver about wanting to serve others. You don't waver about, I'm an executor. You don't waver about when I see something or I know I need to do something, it eats at me until I do it. And I have no doubt that if you didn't see this through, it would have eaten at you until you saw it through. So, I'm not surprised that you're not having a party, although I said I was. Maybe I'm not. I'm at the realization like, yeah, she didn't, because she's trying to make sure she sees this through. And so I really appreciate you talking us through the process and letting people know that their dreams are obtainable, but not without hard work and dedication. So if you had some final words of advice for someone who wants to create something, or just they have a seed in their heart and they might be hesitating a bit, what would you say to them?
Mm. Fear is the father of failure,
Mm.
right? You have to be fearless,
And look
right?
where
You have to
we
be
are.
fearless and you have to be inspired. I would say, if you are a problem solver, you can invent anything, right? You can be, whether it's technological or otherwise. It could be poetry, it could be whatever it is. Um, you know, the thing about being a product developer is that you are solving somebody's problems. You have identified a problem and you have identified a solution. So if you are that person, you can do it. It's just a process of just being disciplined. So I would say always look for the problem. Um, Always write down your solutions. Look for a problem every day. There are problems that still exist. Everything hasn't been invented yet. And never think that your solution is too small. Look at, what are you having challenges with? What is there something that, oh, only if I had this or only if I had that. There could be things and you feel like, oh, there's room for improvement on something that's already been invented. So, there's opportunity there. Be willing to do the work, be willing to do the hard work. It's going to take work. And if you just continue to move forward and put one foot in front of the other, and you're always in a state of seeing, seizing, and seeking opportunities, then that door will be open for you. Those doors will open for you. Make good decisions and pay it forward.
Wow, some great advice, some tweetable moments as we talked about last time. Um, and I'm sure that anyone listening today is very grateful for some of the information you provided, because they're right there and they just needed that motivation, or they just needed that, assurance that it can be done.
I'm rooting
Also,
for
some of the
I'm
information, I know you are rooting for them because it's who you are. So I really, really appreciate it. Now, before you go, you are going to be at the American Beauty Show.
The American Beauty Show. And for individuals who may be saying, well, we still haven't seen the product or how it works, let me just give them a quick one over. This is what we're going to be highlighting. You have, again, this is Kwik Fingers. It's a 3-in-1 hairstyling finger comb. It has a standard tooth comb and a fine tooth comb, and it also has a pintail. And one of the ways that it works, because it's designed for individual creative expression. Stylists are using it for different looks every day, but it's a portable comb. You can take it on the run with you. And what I do when I'm styling my hair and how it helped me was that I was able to go in and part my hair. So I was able to section the hair, separate the strands of hair, and then I'm able to easily straighten my hair from root to tip in a single pass. And it protects my hands and fingers from painful blisters and burns all at the same time. So that's how Kwik Fingers works for me. People are using it for all type of styling processes, finger waves, taking down their braids. The guys love it for their beards. It's so portable, durable, and functional. And it's a very fun little tool to have. So
It definitely is. I mean, it is awesome. And so I want people to come check you out at this American Beauty Show. I want them to go to your page on Instagram and see some of the videos, the how-to videos and how others are using it. I've certainly gone on that page to take a look. You're at the American Beauty Show in Rosemont, April 9th through 11th, right?
yes.
All
Booth
right.
2907, stop by and pay us some love.
All right, booth 2907. So don't forget that. And Connie, thank you for stopping by again for part 2 and sharing your journey. I'm certain we will keep in touch.
Thank you, Dana. Absolutely. Last thing I'd like to say, guys, listen, you can find the comb on Amazon, search Kwik Fingers, and you can also follow us on at Kwik Fingers Comb on all social media sites. And you can follow me at CB Tate. CB_Tate on Instagram. So thank you for having me, Dana. Thank you so much. This has been so awesome.
It has. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.